Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today, we have the Civivi Hooligan. What a great name for a knife. Let's just get that out of the way. I really like the name of this. I think that's cool. Civivi doesn't always have the best track record with some of their names, but this one is pretty great, and I do very much appreciate it because it is a little hooligan. It's just kind of one of these fairly short blade, less than 3 inches, but it's just kind of a beefy little knife. This particular one is in the snakeskin micarta. I think that is just a pattern. I do not believe any actual snakes were harmed in the production of this knife. Someone correct me down below if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. It comes in this micarta. It comes in a dark earth micarta, which is basically just like olive green, or a dark hazel micarta, which is basically just black. But still pretty cool to see them using micarta in a very high production knife. Pretty darn cool. I did get this one from White Mountain Knives. You can use the code SDWMK at checkout and get 10% off. I will say at the time I'm putting this up, they're gone. And I'm sorry about that. I did an unboxing video and what they had went pretty quick, but they'll be back again. This is a regular production Civivi. You're looking at D2 steel, as I said, micarta handles, stainless steel liner lock construction, and it is not running on bearings like most Wies are. This is another one of theirs that is running on Foster Brown's washers, which is a cool little departure. And it is a thumb stud deployment, which is nice. As I said, I mentioned multiple times flipper fatigue. Now they're doing so many thumb stud knives that I'm almost starting to get thumb stud fatigue. Doesn't mean my thumb gets tired to open them. I've just been doing a whole lot of thumb stud knives lately, but that's good. That's good because there's always going to be flippers everywhere. Nice to see some more cool thumb stud knives coming out. As I said, D2 steel looking about $54. Actually, exactly $54. Most places you want to get them. And yeah, multiple color options. And I think it's a pretty cool looking knife. I do have to say, I have no complaints with the way that it looks. As you expect with Wii, you get the nice T8 screws everywhere, which is really good. The Civivi logo. Civivi is Wii's budget brand, if you're wondering why I use those terms interchangeably. And another thing you're seeing a lot with Civivi, the inset pocket screws, which makes the deep carry clip work even better. So I do very much appreciate that. I've had this for a couple weeks now, and I've been carrying it a fair bit. And I will say that my micarta has already started to change color just a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And that's always cool. It's a cool thing about my micarta. My hands do not sweat. I'm a freak. I don't know why. It really annoys me during wintertime because I'm constantly shocking myself because my hands carry static because my hands don't sweat. So I usually change colors of things that are supposed to change color, like micarta, copper, brass, stuff like that. It takes longer to age with me than with most human beings because I'm a weirdo. But it's still already starting to change a little bit, and it's starting to look cool. You can see it more on the clip side than on the show side, but really, really neat looking. I like the little imperfections in it. It's pretty cool. It just looks really classy. Quality is great, as you'd expect from Civivi. Let's do some specs and some size comparisons before we get too much farther here. You have an overall length of 7 inches, blade length of 2.98 inches, blade thickness fairly thin, 0.12 inches, handle thickness 0.47 inches, and a weight of 3.24 ounces. So a bit over that ounce per inch that we always look for, but not too much. There is some skeletonizing, actually quite a bit inside of here, but it feels like some way it could be a little lighter, but I don't really know where because they did skeletonize it quite a bit. I mean, make one of these liners thinner or something, but not enough to really complain about too much. Size comparisons. Let's first put it in our usual Spyderco sandwich. We have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2, which is obviously going to be smaller than, and your Spyderco Para 3. Like I always say, this happens to be the lightweight, but it is exactly the same dimensions as the regular one. Obviously, very similar in size to the Para 3, a little bit smaller than the PM2. One of our new sandwiches that I'm going to start using, the Benchmade sandwich, we have your full-size Benchmade Griptilian and the Benchmade Bug Out. Little bit shorter than either of these. And next up, one that probably applies even more given the price range, we will pull out the Ontario Rat Model 1, the big one. That snap always surprises me. And the Rat Model 2. You can see pretty similar in overall length and stuff to the Rat Model 2. All three of these are D2. These are both the same size, huh? That might be a battle to the death. That would be worth doing. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see that. Now let's talk about this knife specifically. Let's start out with the blade. That's always, of course, it's the most important part. It's what they're here for. They're here to cut stuff. It's a Wee. It's a hollow ground Wee. You know it's pretty slicey. 18 thousandths behind the edge, which any other knife company, I would probably say, awesome, that's great. It's actually kind of thick for a Wee. For their hollow grind, they're like 13, 14 thousandths usually. 18 thousandths, it's fine. It's really sharp out of the box. It's a great slicer. I have no complaints there. The thumb stud does get in the way of the cutting path just a bit, and this is definitely not a forward finger choil. It's basically a large sharpening choil. I mean, yeah, I guess if you really want to be very careful, you can get a fingertip in there and cut with it, but I wouldn't do it very often. I may or may not have done it a couple of times, but you can if you have to. Civivi does a great job with their D2. I know not all D2 is created equal. And you know what? One thing I didn't do on this is the chase the D2 marking. It's always interesting to find out where Civivi or we hit it. It's not in any of the usual places. I know it is D2, but I'm not. Oh, there it is. Found it. It's always like kind of where's Waldo on these. Can you see it there even? I don't know if you can. It's like right there. Kind of, I just like, they're so minimalist with their markings. All you get is the Civivi logo on the pivot. I'm no problem with that, but really nice blade, really good to use. I have no complaints there. It's just a pretty simple drop pointy kind of blade shape. A few little swedges and stuff on it to make it look pretty. But other than that, it's just a really, really good blade to use. I have zero complaints there. Ergonomics also, almost zero complaints. I do wish this was more of a forward finger choil, but it's not the end of the world. It didn't really bother me a whole lot, but if they could have made this just like, got an 1/8 of an inch larger, where I could feel comfortable getting a whole finger. I guess you kind of can, but I wouldn't want to do anything doing that. It's really meant to be more carried like this. And when you lay your thumb down on the top of the blade, this isn't the smoothest spot to land, but it's not super sharp, but it does work really well. It's not so sharp that you don't want to do it. But yeah, and if you're using this jimping, it's in a good place. That nice little thumb ramp works really well. Can't really feel the pocket clip much at all. The micarta is kind of typical micarta. I wouldn't call it exceptionally slick or exceptionally grippy for micarta. Feels pretty quality. Like I said, it does have that little imperfection in it. I think that's kind of on purpose because it's the snakeskin thing. They want to make it look more natural. I have no complaints there. I guess if you really, 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 really bear down, you can feel this jimping around, the lock bar, but it's really not much of a thing. Ergonomically, it's pretty darn good. Like I said, I just wish they'd have gone another 1/8 of an inch with that, so you could really choke up on it. If you are the kind of person that mods your knives, that wouldn't be a hard one to do at all. But yeah, that's really the only ergonomic complaint I have about it. Don't really have any complaints other than that. As far as the carry goes, it carries pretty well. As you can see, it's pretty tall in the pocket. You're looking at what, like 1.5 inches. Again, it has this nice deep carry clip with the nice recessed pocket screws. The clip itself is not recessed, so every once in a while, you still get just a bit of a catch. Not even on these big, thick Dickies pants, though. We're still not making jokes about that. They're Dickies work jeans. The thickest jeans I could find. That's kind of why I use them. Slides in and out really well. Like I said, this micarta is not super grippy. It's not going to tear your pants up or anything like that. Fairly easy to get your hand by. It's not like the easiest thing in the world. It's not as thick as, like a Mannix 2 or something like that, but it's not as thin as some other knives, like a Benchmade 940 or something, obviously. But it goes in and out pretty darn good. And as I'm moving my own little table thing around, I'll put these back in because I forgot to show you something. I always forget that I cut these jeans up in a specific way so that I could show you this, and then I always forget to do it. Doesn't take up a whole ton of room in the pocket. You still have a lot of pocket left. These are pretty large pockets, but you still have a fair amount of pocket left. It's a little tall, but not too bad. You don't have a flipper tab sticking out because it's thumb studs, so that's nice. Which brings us to the deployment. Thumb stud deployment. It is very snappy opening up. Rocket bang every time. Completely fine. They got the detent very, very good on it. as I just screwed up because I'm in front of my stupid camera and you guys are watching, so performance anxiety or something. What am I doing? There we go. You have to be authoritative about it. But you don't have to, like, don't have to wrist it. You just got to be authoritative about it. And it's not quite, as you can see, the Civivi action that some people will expect. And I think that's probably the biggest complaint this knife is going to have, because you saw I failed it a few times. It does rock it out pretty good, but if you're expecting your usual Civivi ball bearing, perfect detent, drop shutty performance, this isn't the knife for that. It runs on phosphor washers instead of ball bearings, and it just ain't quite the same. Drop shut is no, it's not going to do that. It is not its thing. But again, as long as you're authoritative with that thumb snap, it does snap out. I have not torn this apart and done anything to it yet. It might get a little bit better if I did that, if I polished the washers and did kind of the usual tricks I have to do on a lot of bronze washer knives. But it still makes a satisfying noise. This is meant to be kind of more of a working sort of knife. Obviously, it's why they went with the bronze washers instead of the ball bearings. A lot of people who do heavy duty work stuff don't like ball bearings because they think they're going to get gummed up. Never been a problem for me, but I've heard enough people say that it is, that I believe that it is a problem for some people. So it's just a little bit of a departure for Wheat to do something like this. Like I said, they have a couple now. I think the Governor's the same way. And it's thumb studs. They're just trying to do some new stuff, and good for them. Broadening the lines. It is right-hand, left-hand carry. It is super easy to get to the lock bar, I will say that. There's no like deep cutout over here, but that jimping and stuff makes it super easy to get to. So overall, I really like it. It's a pretty cool knife. Is it a keeper? I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know if I need a 3-inch knife that's meant for kind of heavier duty stuff, which I also assume is why the edge is a bit thicker. It looks cool. I love those scales, that's for sure. It's a looker. I will definitely give it that. And the blade works really well. No real big complaints. Like I said, if you're going to make a choil that big, make it a finger choil, or just make it smaller and make it be a sharpening choil that's obviously not meant for anything. Maybe the designers have tinier fingers than me, but I can't believe that because I have super skinny fingers. But pretty neat knife. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. But it's pretty cool. And check it out, $54. WhiteMountainKnives.com. Like I said, it's currently sold out, but you can find it other places. Even in the snakeskin, I did look, and it is available other places. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.